and welcome back to another Pen Talk. Thank you very much for tuning in and joining me as I explore this amazing, incredible, wide world of pens. And you see a great example of the pens that are available to us nowadays. And this is one that I wasn't that excited about, but I saw some postings and it seemed to be a pen that I needed to get. So I looked around, I bought it on AliExpress. Here's that listing. It's sold on most of the common platforms, so choose the platform of your choice and you can find the pen. I promised Mr. Crab he would get his workout, so he's on the turntable holding up the pen. It's a good size pen. It certainly is somewhat attractive. I'm not a fan of white pens, but this only comes with a white cap and a white section and a white finial at the end of the barrel, so I went with a light blue. I think all the colors are nice. Here's the different colors that it comes in. So you might find one that you like. It has your standard Moonman Majohn nib. We'll see how it writes. And meanwhile, Mr. Crab will give you a wink and we'll look at this in more detail. So the first thing that strikes you when you see this pen and pick it up is it's a girthy pen, kind of like in your M400 size category. The little design on that middle cap band is very, very nice, kind of like a Grecian geometric pattern. A rollerball clip. Pretty tight, but springy and very functional. Just a plain insert there at the top of the finial. Nothing at the bottom, but it's your standard large flat top pen. The cap comes off in about 1 3/4 turns, and you'll see a beefy section. And you'll see a nice two-tone Moonman fine nib, standard plastic feet on the back. You have your metal threads here, which is more common nowadays I consider this a higher end pen in the Chinese market. And we'll see a standard converter. It's a nice converter. There was a spring in there, but I took it out. And Moonman is nice for making little things. So you see Majohn here inside the barrel where this metal section is. I think that's kind of cool, kind of neat. Metal on metal. It's a well-made pen. It feels good. It feels substantial. It feels a lot of quality here. So the other thing about the pen is, does it post? Well, normally these designs don't post very deep. This is post okay. Since it's not a blind cap, it's not a piston filler, you don't have to worry about it's posting on. It actually feels okay in the hand posted. And it's fairly secure. It looks kind of cool. But yes, it is on tight. I prefer my pens unposted, and it fits in the hand. You wouldn't want it any shorter, but it fits fine. And that is a nice beefy section. I like it. As you can see, my fingers don't really touch much, which is good for me. You don't really feel those threads, but you may hear the thunder in the background. We've had some pretty intense thunderstorms coming through here in New Jersey. So this pen has a lot of potential to it. We're going to compare it to some other pens, find a suitable ink, and write with that fine Moonman nib. Here we have the Majohn M400 disassembled, as much as I think it needs to be disassembled. So the first thing to notice is that I pulled the nib and feet out. So I did a flush with a soapy water, then rinse with regular water before I tried to pull the nib out. And those of you that might have problems pulling nib out, that's always a technique that has worked well for me. Not 100% effective, but It makes the nib and feed easier to pull out because it kind of lubricates inside this nib collar. The nice converter disassembled, and I will remove the spring. You can see the other bits and pieces are very, very well made. It's a solid pen. Let's take a look at some more details. So I consider this an upscale converter. I like the fact that it has a nice metal band there at the bottom, which adds stability because when you push that on and off the end of the nib collar, it maintains its nice dimensions and fits very securely. And there's that nice metal insert. No rubber O-ring there at the bottom, which I tend to like to see, but we could always add one. Let's bring in the LED light and see what we can see. I think this number 6 steel nib is done very, very well. Nice two-tone design. A little bit of scroll work there. The engraving is very crisp, very clear. And yes, it's an F4 fine. And it says Moon Man. I guess they haven't run out of nibs that say Moon Man where the pen is called Majohn. Take a quick look inside the cap. Yeah, there's a little machined ledge in there. Not really certain how this is all put together. I think that cap might be glued in place. Nice consistent color. I think the interesting thing is going to be the barrel. Yeah, that resin is just nice. There's my light strobes. If we go down here, we'll see some threads. So this cap is glued in place, threaded and glued. It will not come off. I really like the way the light kind of works through the white resin. And I like the blue color. There's a little bit of, reflectivity, a little bit of glitter in there, but not much. And you got your cracked ice design with some nice different shades of blue. Here we are with the size comparisons. So we have our Majohn M400, we have a Pelikan M800, a Jinhao Centennial 100, and a Jinhao 82. I just put this in here just to show you this pen almost looks twice as big as the 82. And it is certainly girthier than the M800. Not quite as long, but I don't consider that difference in length to be significant. It is closer to the Centennial 100, but it is much girthier, bigger diameter by at least a millimeter or two. So let's take a look at the business end. So posted, the M400 is about the same length as the M800. The Centennial is not a good poster. It posts very high, so therefore it changes the balance quite a bit. And the 82 is a great poster, but as you can see, it's diminutive in comparison to these other pens. So the other thing you'll notice as we look at this business end is this is a very girthy section. The M800 is girthy, but it's short. So this is certainly a more substantial section. Of course, the 82 is small, and the Century 100 is actually small compared to these two pens. All of these pens have two-tone nibs, which I think is interesting. And I think you compare these three. Obviously, the Pelikan is a solid gold nib, but the other ones hold their own in the aesthetics department. So one of the things I learned from the Jinhao 100 with that white section is I have a very saturated sheening ink in here, and I got to wipe the ink off immediately after I fill it. If any ink is left on there, it stains. The stains come out, but it just kind of looks, doesn't look attractive. Obviously, the black section, you're not going to see the ink if it stains at all. So I'm interested to see how the Moon Man 400 white resin works with some saturated inks, which I'll probably put one in it. So here's the ink I'm putting in. Pine Forest. Haven't used it much lately. No glitter. But it's a very intense dark blue. And as I mentioned before, the section gets stained a little bit. I just take a paper towel with a little bit of soap in it, soapy water in it, and it cleans it up pretty good. I don't want to leave it set there. Good as new. So here's my first writing sample. Yes, I put in a trim of ink, Pine Forest. I think it's a nice deep blue. And it writes well in this fine nib. Yeah, Moonman Majohn interchangeable. Very smooth, fine nib. A pleasure to write with. And if we take a look up here, we'll see some writing that I did, not over the camera. As you can see, I write a little bit differently when I don't have the camera in between me and the paper, but I enjoy writing with the pen. So you may ask, what other recent Chinese pens have a very girthy section? And I'll say the X159. We see it here in comparison to the M400. It is a longer pen, but the M400 has the flat tops. So if it was a bullet nose, cigar-shaped pen, it would probably be the same length. Let's take a look at the business end. So posted, they're almost exactly the same length, but the M400 just posts more securely than the X159. But we need to compare the sections. So I like the section on the M400 better than the X159 by a little bit. I lined them up so the sections ends are right here at the same distance. You can see the medium nib on this X159 extends further out. And the tipping material appears to be a little bit more, but then this is a fine and this is a fine and they are similar, so that's what you would expect. We'll throw up some dimensions just so you can compare. The other thing to keep in mind is the X159 is a number 8 size nib and the M400 has a number 6 size nib, and I do think that the number 8 nib looks more in proportion to these sections. So will Majohn have a number 8 nib in the future? I wonder if they will. I'd say it's a 50-50. Depends upon whether the nib makers making the number 8 nibs have time from making them for Jinhao to make them for Majohn. So we've reached a conclusion of the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. We'll give you some dimensions of the pen. Always good to have those in mind. Again, it's a substantial pen. It feels good in the hand. It has a luxury feel. The cap takes a few more turns than I would like, but less than 2. It fits nicely in the hand as is. And that nice beefy section is good. It may be just even a tad bit big for me, but better to be a little bit on the large size than on the small side for my hands when it comes to the section. And as we discussed, it just posts just right. And it's a very secure post. That cap is not coming off. It takes a little bit of effort to take it off. So I like the pen. It exceeds my expectations, and they've been pretty high recently. It's not a unique design by any stretch of the imagination, but it certainly has some interesting characteristics. And the fact that it writes extremely well, feels good in the hand, and is pleasant to the eye, it's a winner in my book. pen writes extremely well. I like it. I recommend it. Price is great. You could probably get it for under $20 US delivered. Can't beat that. All the components are nice. Fit and finish is good. The light blue ice is growing on me daily. And I like the gold trim and the two-tone nib. Say no more. I hope this video finds everyone safe, healthy, and happy. Enjoying your pens, enjoying spilling ink in a controlled manner on a surface of your choice. I thank all of you for watching. We've reached the end. And we will say bye. I just got a bunch of pens to review. I'll be busy.